Okay, in a few weeks, we will be organising another one of these sessions. If you get too much one time, it's not going to stay there. We want what I said to stay there. The next one, we'll try and do it in the afternoon on a Saturday. We might not be able to use this facility, but we need to start about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go to about 8 o'clock at night. I need to go back over everything that I've told you tonight and then add the rest of the stuff. There's a lot, but it's too much at one night. As you understand, your head starts to, and it gives me a bit of a headache. But I'll bring you up to date with what's going on in England. Cullerton and his group have filed into the House of Lords, the High Court of England. We went to the Privy Council. I say we because I'm part of the advisory part of that group. Went to the Privy Council. They tried to say we couldn't go there, even though the Constitution, Section 74 says we can, and the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK says we can. They still try to block us out. But we forced it, and we had to do submissions to the High Court of England, and we got it in. There were the Governor of Western Australia, the Attorney General and the Chief Justice were ordered to do submissions. We have to do the rest of our submissions by the 21st, which is Saturday. They're in. That's that. If that goes through, we'll get a declaration that the Australia Act UK contravenes the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK. I didn't agree with what was set or put to the High Court. My idea is the royal prerogative should have been in dispute, because if you can't exercise the royal prerogative, there is no law in this country. Because there's majority of laws are reserved for Her Majesty's signature, not the Governor-General. They must go to Her Majesty. It states that in the Constitution. It's not and, ors, ifs or buts. It must be done. That's why it's in the Constitution. Anything to do with the Governor or Governor-General automatically goes to the Queen for her signature. Never happened. There's issues with the Australia Act. That is a long drawn out thing. It would take another hour and a half to 2 hours. In the next meeting, I will get into the Australia Act and explain a few things to people. To start off with, is the issue of Section 51, subsection 38 of the Constitution says with the conferral of the parliaments of the states, the Commonwealth can exercise authority it had at Federation, but it didn't have any. Our Constitution says so. Because under the provisions of Clause 7, the old entities known as the Australasian Council and the colonies ceased to exist. So we had 4 months and 25 days with imperial law only, no other law. The states did not exist before Federation. They were military colonies. They ceased to exist on the 9th of July 1900 under Clause 7. And this book says, but even if that wasn't so, there was only 7 legislative areas ever exercisable by the Australasian Council and even less by the colonies. All 7 are contained in Section 51 of the Constitution. There never was any authority by any parliament of either the colony or the Commonwealth over land. None. Read Section 51 if you have a constitution. You'll find out there's never been authority for any Parliament of Australia over land. They have the right, the federal government does, for free public use, like the production of roads for free use, and they're not because you pay fuel tax, so they're not, and other issues, on reasonable remuneration. The market value of your land plus the value of replacing the house is reasonable remuneration. They're trying to say we can delegate that to the states or to the local government. No, they can't. The states in HCA 11 of 2015, not the states, the local government, that case involves Queensland Rail, where the High Court ruled it didn't matter that Queensland Rail was a government entity, it had an ABN number, provided services for money, it's a trading company. The biggest farce that's sitting right under your nose is you have a council and you have a company. Who runs this district, the Wanneroo? Not the council. They do not make any decisions. They do not talk to the public. They are not allowed to talk to the public. There are no wards anymore. They've all been abolished. So what does that mean to you? That means you've got a fraud sitting under your nose. These people are getting between $35,000 and $80,000 a year to attend one meeting a month. And they do absolutely zero. Because the registered company that sits behind them, the City of Wanneroo, you read your rates notice, tax invoice, ABN number. What's that telling you? They're a registered company. They've got a CEO, they've got executive officers. Every single person who works in the offices works for that company. That company comes under Section 51, subsection 20 of the Constitution. It's a trading corporation. How can a trading corporation tax your land? It's not. It owns your land under the Bush Chook Queen. You're paying rent to it. That's how they're getting around it. That's why, the rates are paid for services provided. Yeah. Go and try and build a building. 3,000 or 4,000 you've got to pay them for a permit. Want to put up a fence? Permit. Want to scratch yourself? Permit. What are they providing? Nothing. They are making you pay for everything that you want on your land. And you've got to get their permission to build on their land, on your land. Why do you have to get permission? Fee simple, it says, this is an estate in fee simple. Fee simple is under Chalice Real Property. There's a case, Figo versus the Northern Territory, 1998, HCA 58 of 1998. You read that, and it refers back to a 1923 case, and it gives you the exact British law definition of fee simple. You've got every right of ownership except for the fact you can't move it. Anything that happens inside of that boundary is covered under the Boundaries Act, belongs to you. You can take every bit of dirt out of there as long as it doesn't crumble and sink your neighbour's house. You can take all the dirt out of there and sell it. Not their business. It's your business, you own it. How'd they get out of it? It was very, very simple. You're a proprietor in fee simple. Then you become a tenant in common in an estate in fee simple. 5 years ago, you become a tenant in common on an estate in fee simple. What did they just do? Change 2 letters. In and on. You own it, you don't. Simple as that. Now you don't own it anymore. It belongs in those companies. Right? Now, further to what I said about Cullis and what he's doing, White Wharton in Queensland, he produced the system of lawful rebellion under Clause 61 of Magna Carta and filed it against the British Parliament and the Queen. While they were in the EU, they couldn't do nothing. As soon as they come out of the EU, it becomes returnable by the end of this month. The Queen must answer those writs, both for him and so does the Parliament. So we not only have the High Court of England, we have that. Further to that, on the 7th of January last year, I seized the 3 lawful tiers of the Commonwealth Government because they're not being used. The Australian government, being a registered company, is what's operating in this country. So I seized them because I could under Clause 61 of Magna Carta. I was sworn in on the 16th of January 2012 as a Commonwealth public official. I am a sworn officer of the Crown. It is my duty to reveal an indictable offence to the authorities, which I've done. Now, not only did I seize the 3 tiers of government, I seized green, mucus constitution, I call it, which is the replacement one for this. It's green, right colour, fits the situation. Mucus is worth nothing, it's a waste. And so is their constitution. And I hold it in a state of fraud under the Crown for and on behalf of the people. Nothing I've done is for me, all under the Crown for and on behalf of you, the people. Then I seized every act, statute, rule, regulation, order, law, or whatever they want to call it, proposed by or passed by the political parties, and hold that in a state of fraud under the Crown for and on behalf of the people. That annihilates all the law in law. Not legally, in law. There's a difference. Then I seized all the assets of this country. I put them all together in a document and seized them on ScoMo, served them on ScoMo, on his home internet. Then in his office, then in the Parliament, and then to the Parliament by registered mail. So they got it, and they crapped themselves. Then I filed into the House of Lords, to Lord Fowler, the Lord Speaker of the House of Lords, stating that the company known as the Australian Government had stolen one of Her Majesty's realms, being the Commonwealth of Australia. A clear act of treason against the Crown. And the fact that overturned the Commonwealth Constitution Act 1900 UK, which is death by hanging or imprisonment for life. And that stands under Halsey's Laws of England, Volume 2, and the Treason Felony Act. They must stand trial. Now, I'm waiting for Culleton's case, Wyatt Wharton's case, and then my wife and I are going to England. We're going to file into the High Court in England to enforce the notice of seizure under Clause 61 of Magna Carta. We've been told by lots of people Magna Carta doesn't apply anymore, it's nonsense, it's an old law is not used, nonsense. Magna Carta is the British Constitution. Whether anyone likes it or not, it is their constitution. It was put in place in 1215. It was a bit shabbily done, needed a bit of ironing out. King James I took the throne at 9 years old. When he was 27, he'd studied Magna Carta and he cemented it into the British law as a constitution in 1297. So it does stand, it is law, it is enforceable. So my wife and I, when they finish with their bits, we're going to do the same. We are taking this country back. It is going back to us, the people, and they are going to do what we tell them. The only obstacle is there is an ongoing fight in this world for a one world government. We're going to come up against that, who cares? We've got someone on our side they can't beat. And we know we can beat them. And we've got the guts to do it. So that's where we're at, and that's where I'll leave it for the night. And when my wife closes off the video, I'll explain to you a foundation we set up.